Investors cheered Chewy's third quarter earnings results as it became profitable on the bottom line. So in this video, I'm going to look at its key metrics from the third quarter and answer the question if Chewy stock is a buy now that it turned profitable on the bottom line. Overall revenue in Q3 increased to 2.53 billion. This was up 14% from last year. Net income, as I mentioned, turned positive 2.3 million after a loss of 32.2 million in the same quarter last year. Active customers of 20.5 million was only a slight increase of 0.6% year over year. Of course, if you've been following Chewy for the last few years like I have, you will have noticed that it experienced a boom during the pandemic when it added millions of customers. Chewy's an online pet retailer, so when brick and mortar stores were closed, Chewy was an obvious alternative. It gained millions of customers, and now it looks like it's churning over some of those customers that joined during the pandemic are now reversing their behavior and going back and shopping in person. This is offsetting some of the new customers that it's adding because it is in growth mode. It is adding new customers, but the pace at which it's adding net new customers has decreased significantly because while it's adding a lot of new customers, it's also losing a lot of those customers that joined during the pandemic. Net sales per active customer increased by 13.8% to $477. This is an encouraging trend for Chewy stock investors is that each existing customer, as they mature with Chewy, as they become more used to as they become more familiar with the Chewy platform, they spend more and more money on Chewy as time progresses. So this is great news. This was another record net sales per active customer for Chewy at $477. And what I found personally most impressive was that gross margin improved by 200 basis points to 28.4%. Now remember, Chewy's an e-commerce retailer that it owns inventory and it does the shipping and handling. And very similar to how Amazon runs its business, except it's specific to pet goods. And so the fact that it was able to increase its gross profit margin amid widespread inflation that's increasing costs across the board was impressive. And Chewy has a long history of increasing its gross profit margin. I think if we go back all the way to 2017, their gross profit margin was like in the double digits, 15, 16%, and they've steadily increased that gross profit margin. It's now all the way up to 28.4%, and management highlighted several initiatives that they've undertaken that's increasing their gross profit margin, and they're doing a good job of this, and in my opinion, it's one of the primary reasons if you're bullish on Chewy stock, it's because of management's effectiveness in expanding its gross profit margin. Also, cash flow from operations increased to 117 million from 74 million year over year. Another big improvement. The company launched sponsored ads in early November. So this is something I'm enthusiastic about for Chewy because if I compare Chewy to Amazon, I recently posted a video about how Amazon is becoming an advertising powerhouse. It's because marketers are extremely interested in placing ads right next to the consumer's purchase decision, right? If you're on Amazon, you're one click away from making a purchase. On Chewy, it might not be one click away, but you're only a few clicks away from purchasing that pet product. And so pet retailers would be interested in placing advertisements on the platform. The company has 20 million active customers who are spending on average $477 a year. So this is something that marketers will be interested in, and I'm excited to see how Chewy monetizes this new feature over the next few quarters. I'm excited to see the progress on this regard. For the fourth quarter, management is guiding for sales growth of 10.5%. This would be another deceleration from 14.5% in the third quarter. And overall, the company's sales growth has been moderating as economies have reopened and consumer habits have shifted. And another troubling trend from the pandemic is that, yes, pet adoption boomed during the pandemic. Many people adopted new pets, brought home new pets to keep them company when they were spending more time at home. But as economies reopened, people started returning their pets, which I found to be troubling. And I thought, people that were adopting these pets, bringing home these pets, I thought this was going to be a long-term commitment. This is what had me bullish about Chewy stock, was that people, yes, they were increasing sales on Chewy during the pandemic, but I thought that would be long lasting, because if you get a pet, that pet's going to be living for 5, 10 years, maybe depending on the type of pet it is, maybe 15, maybe 20 years. And so I thought this was going to be a boom in customers for Chewy for long time to come, but that hasn't been the case. That hasn't been the case, and that's what has me concerned about Chewy stock, is that customer churn. Those customers that they added during the pandemic are now returning those pets. They're no longer Chewy customers, and that's what's causing this slowdown in active customer growth. So while the company itself, Chewy, has done an excellent job in executing on its strategy, I think the industry overall, pet ownership, is going to experience headwinds over the next few quarters. And that, along with the macroeconomic headwinds of rising inflation, has had me recommend Chewy stock as not a buy. If you watched that video, I had recommended Chewy stock as not a buy. And right now, this quarter's performance was an improvement. It was an improvement from the previous quarter's results, but I would still advise investors to wait before buying Chewy stock. I want to see 1 or 2 more quarters of continued performance like this before I could recommend the stock as a buy. There is too much uncertainty surrounding the transportation costs, inflationary pressure, supply chain disruptions, and all of that. So I want to wait a little bit more before recommending Chewy stock as a buy. All right, so that's all I've got for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now.